Here is my Streamline RC Thrasher jet boat. Now this is in the V3 version with the RC Sparks splatter decal kit already applied, and yes, it is hovering above my desk. With the help of the styrofoam on either side, of course. Today I get to show you something that's very cool, a little bit pre-production, but it's definitely up on the website right now for you guys to check out. An option part for you to fine-tune your entire thrust ability. I just said that. Now what the heck am I talking about? Check it out. These two pieces are now redesigned from Scott at Streamline RC. Scott is an engineer that is constantly working on his product. Every year we've had bigger, better, greater, faster. Now one of the things people noticed about the V3 is it seems to porpoise a lot more, which means when it's riding in the water, it kind of tends to bounce like this instead of riding up on a nice flat plane. Now that has a lot to do with the increased thrust on the whole new V3 setup. Now one of the things that's awesome about this is with a much wider ride plate like this with a single screw to flip over to swap out on the boat, plus this thrust cone. Look at this, Scott put in a spring load screw, so now I can adjust the cone so it can either push down the front of the boat or make it go up. So depending on the type of water that you're going to be going in, if you're going to be going in the creek, if you're going in the river, if you're going on a nice flat open pond, now you can adjust it so your nose gets pushed down properly and you have the proper amount of thrust being pushed away from the boat so it gets up on a plane and rides faster. A performance piece has to be an optional part if he's going to keep the costs down. For the original boat, this may be not necessary for where you are. Maybe you're just doing whitewater all the time. You don't even need something like this piece, but the option is now there. Let's get it installed. Just going to go ahead and flip the boat over. That way I can get to the bottom hex bit that's holding this smaller ride plate on. Okay, a single hex screw on the bottom. Look at this, how easy it is. Out of the way. Slide this ride plate out. This is not the final production color. I get the prototype versions to test them out, which is pretty cool. That way you can see what the option part is at least. There's quite a difference. I noticed right here that this has like a protective area. When I put this one on, it's got a long, wide outside protective area. Put this back in. Now that is going to help push the front of the boat down. Now, before I do that, just realizing my mistake right away, I can tell Scott is watching this right now. He's shouting at me, "You got to change the thrust nozzle first," because that's how I access the cone screw right through this hole as well. That's genius. Let me see here. Number 2. Yep. Number 2 on that side. Roll it back over. Same right here on the top. So a super simple, fast upgrade. I'm going to take this one out of the way. Look at that, no filing or anything at all. And then there. So it looks like what I have to do first is undo this screw for the thrust vectoring there, so I can put that set screw right back in the top. So just use a smaller bit, backing this off. We'll get the camera up here to show that it's giving me access to this hole right there, which is easy for me to go ahead, put the 2mm in there, screw that into place. Don't need to over tighten. And then I can change that spring adjustment as well as rolling it back over. Putting the other screw into the bottom. Just like that. Now that ride plate can come on. Which is great. You can't make a mistake on this ride plate because it literally has one way only to install. You follow the guide rails, Put on the hex screw. Yes, we are ready to take it out and give it a test. Okay, so my battery is in there, and for those that missed the unboxing with Everett and I, check out the electronics on the inside. Completely different in the V3. You can see that the receiver now is encapsulated, completely waterproof. These are the brushless wires. Look how easy these are to move on and off the posts. I've never had to replace one of my motors, but if I was going to, that would be easy. And of course, the power bilge pump. This is the purge line right here. This giant line, which actually gets rid of all the water inside the boat if it takes any on. And of course, this is a self-righting boat, and that's exactly how it works, is when it's upside down, it takes on water very quickly and then rolls it back onto its top. All the meanwhile, this bilge pump is purging out the side the whole time. You never have to go and get your boat anymore. It self-rights and it empties. Brilliant. Okay, so thrust vectoring, what does that mean? I've basically waited for a day where there was no wind, so we had a nice flat piece of water for you today, a little bit like glass, and I want to show you about the actual thrust cone. The reason why this is so important is because this is now allowing me to have adjustability depending on the type of water that I'm in. So if I have white water and I want the front of the nose to be up on top of those waves, what I'm going to be wanting to do is to be tensioning this screw, which actually changes the cone angle. And as it moves that angle up and the water starts to shoot up out, the front of the boat is actually going to be forced up, which was going to keep me on top of that wave. Now, if I'm on a glass day like I am today, and I want to make sure that the front of the boat is not porpoising, and what I mean by porpoising, again, is just where it's kind of slapping the water while it's running. What I want to do is I want to adjust that thrust cone so it's flatter. That way, it's actually changing the actual front of the boat depending on the water. If I wanted it to be flat, where I'm just doing a speed run, as flat as I can get it, I can actually change this thrust cone where it's pointing down, which is the water pushing down, pushing the front of the boat down. I think it's easier to show you out on the water than it is to explain it though. Good to go. Perfect. Ceramic bearing, a hydrostatic bearing. It never needs, there's no prop to pull out and grease, ever. Okay, so what I'm doing now is basically setting it to the stock V3 settings, what my best guesstimate is, where really it kind of is made for white water anyway. And you'll notice that if you get your V3 and you take it out with the more thrust, like I said, it kind of forces this back end down a little bit more because the thrust cone is pointed up. Geez, that's riding better with that back ride plate already. It's not like the stock setup at all. So there, you can see it kind of hopping. That hop right there, we'll bring it back around so you guys can see it again. Well, that's nice and flat. Give it a little distance coming around. Being a jet boat, I don't have any prop to worry about. Look at that, you hop, 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 hop. Was the camera able to see that?
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring that back. Now let's adjust that thrust cone. So now what I want to do is let it out, take some pressure off that spring, allowing that nozzle to come down. And what that's going to do is going to force the front of my boat down. Now I haven't seen this yet, but the way Scott was going on about it, it's going to be fantastic. Now I'm going to leave the adjustment there. I'm not going to go to full extremes, or maybe I should. Maybe I should go full extreme. And then it'll push it way down, and then we can make an adjustment. So I'm not going too far out. I don't want this square little nut that's inset there to come out at all. But you'll see we've got full extension on the spring. Come on, that's what she said. Okay, round 2. Now I can see it's plowing a little bit more with the front. We'll get it turned around here. A little more planted in the front, over my own wake. That's much better. Whoa, that's an interesting turn now. Look at that. No hopping until I hit the lake. I'm gonna go long. Let's bring it back here. We'll bring it up the far side. Here we go. There it is, no hopping, very little until I hit those waves. Whoa, an immediate turn. The angle of the thrust has changed how it turns. Look at that, on a dime. It was always very good at turning, but that new ride plate definitely. Wow. There's a stick right in the water. I don't have to worry about it. I went right over it because there's no prop to worry about busting off. Okay, now let's adjust it just a little bit more. I want to bring it up, so kind of halfway. So back to the thrust nozzle. Just going to go ahead and add it about halfway, which I think will be the flattest. It won't be pushing it down, plowing the water, which makes it a little bit slower. But at the same time, it'll give me a little bit of a porpoise effect, which will allow me to stay up on plane, I hope. This will take some dialing in though. That's why I love this hobby. Okay, so I call this move somewhere in between.
It's like a love story.
Better. I'm definitely getting more speed out of it now. My turn isn't as crazy. Woo-hoo!